Coping through the coronavirus. COVID-19, the coronavirus, has disrupted all of our lives in many ways. While we've been through epidemics in the past, including SARS, MRSA, Zika, H1N1, and others, none have had the global daily impact of COVID-19. With people getting very sick, hospitalized, and dying, others losing jobs, schools and universities closing, and whole industries shutting down, it feels catastrophic. It is vital that we all follow CDC directives to socially distance and even isolate, wash our hands, and so forth. This is as much for our safety as for the safety of others. At the same time, we need to take care of our mental well-being. And remember that, as a people, we are resilient and adaptable. We can and we will get through this. It won't last forever. Eventually, we'll return to some semblance of normal. Good coping strategies can't make this all go away, but it can limit our suffering in the meantime. Here are some ideas to help you get through this crisis. Accepting anxiety as a natural response. In the midst of this chaos, anxiety is a major concern for many. In an unprecedented situation, we can't predict what will happen. This leaves us with a great deal of uncertainty, which can trigger anxiety. We are much more comfortable when we can anticipate what's coming and control some of the outcomes. There are many things about which we feel uncertain. We can feel uncertain about just how big of a threat COVID-19 will be. As a result, we are uncertain how to evaluate the threat of the illness itself. We can feel uncertain about how much stress and worry we should be feeling. We may be in disagreement or conflict with family members about how stressed we should feel and how we handle that stress. We may feel uncertain about our own capacity to cope and our ability to manage our emotions through this. Running away from these feelings can be tempting, but is typically unhelpful in the long run. Avoiding feelings, or the other extreme of ruminating and obsessing, are likely to make matters worse. They lead to less helpful strategies, including drinking excessively, overeating, or obsessively watching news coverage of the virus, infection rates, and consequences. Start tackling uncertainty by first acknowledging your feelings and accepting them. Do this without escalating them or dismissing them. Observe them with curiosity, not judgment. Stress related to virus contagion and to financial consequences are reasonable and healthy under the circumstances. Fighting the anxiety only increases the anxiety. On the other hand, ruminating and obsessing about the virus and its consequences can also lead to greater anxiety. Greater anxiety leads to suppression of your immune system, which we don't need right now. Addressing your mental health can improve your physical health. Practice accepting your feelings. Try some meditation. Sit in a quiet, comfortable spot. Take a few deep breaths. Focus on your breathing. Allow yourself to feel your worry and let the thoughts flow through. Notice the thoughts. Acknowledge them without judgment. See them as human and understanding. If the feelings become too intense, shift your focus back to your breathing for a few minutes. Try adding some affirming coping statements. I am resilient and strong. I can cope with this. I have survived challenges in the past. Others to practice might be, this too shall pass. The sun will rise tomorrow. Take a few more deep breaths. Stretch a little and return to your day. Reframing anxious thoughts. All kinds of unhelpful thoughts may drift through your head. Sometimes these get stuck. You may find yourself ruminating on these, amplifying them, and finding yourself overwhelmed and anxious. It can be very helpful to reframe some of these thoughts. Write them out on a piece of paper. Then examine each one. Is each thought reasonable, or is it distorted in some way? Here are some ways our brain can see things in distorted ways. All or nothing thinking. This is when we see things as all bad or all good. In most situations, there are all kinds of possibilities in between all and nothing. Overgeneralization. This is when you take one event or one aspect and generalize this to an all-over pattern or assume something temporary is permanent. Disqualifying the positive. In this case, it can be disqualifying your own strengths and ability to cope. Catastrophizing. This is when you focus entirely on the negative aspects of your situation and assuming the worst will happen. Emotional reasoning. Almost all of us do this at one time or another. Emotional reasoning is when we assume our feelings are facts and act accordingly, instead of stepping back and examining the situation. Control fallacies. In this distortion, we either assume we have no control over a situation and we are helpless victims, or we assume we have absolute control and we are responsible for the feelings and welfare of everyone around us. Look through the thoughts you have written. Which of these distorted thoughts might be applied to each one? Write this down next to each. Now try to modify each thought so that it's less distorted and more helpful. Here are some examples. For the distorted thought, I'm stuck inside and going crazy. The positive coping thought might be, I can use this time to focus on taking care of myself and my home. For the distorted thought, I feel so isolated and alone. The positive coping thought might be, this is hard, but I can reach out to friends and schedule Skype time with them. Another distorted thought might be, this is horrible. I don't know what to do with myself. The positive coping thought might be, I can create a new schedule for myself to get some structure. Managing changes to daily routine. For most people, COVID-19 has resulted in a complete disruption to our daily routine. We are stuck in our homes for days on end. In our worst case, we may find ourselves sitting around in our PJs, watching mindless television, or hours on end of virus news while eating junk food. Creating a daily routine can be really helpful. Get out of your bed at your usual time, get dressed as if you had to go to work, schedule your days with activities, limit news exposure to no more than 1 hour per day. What can you do to structure your day? Get regular sleep, exercise, or maybe get out in nature. This may be a good time to work on a hobby or add a new one. Activities like knitting, cooking, drawing, adult coloring, and many others can help you cope with the changes. You can still order supplies online if you need to. If you can, get outside, walk, hike, or ride your bike. Being in nature is frequently more beneficial than exercising indoors. Just remember to keep 6 feet away from others and wash your hands thoroughly afterwards. There are good resources like apps for practicing yoga, tai chi, qigong, or other sources of both mindfulness and exercise indoors. Use the TAO mindfulness sessions available on our app, on our desktop version, and free for anyone on our website. Adapting to a different kind of social connection. We all need social connection, more so when we are stressed. The loneliness and isolation associated with social distancing can add to personal struggles. Social isolation is very bad for our health and immune systems. Attending to our social needs in the midst of socially isolating ourselves is critical for our mental and physical well-being. Now is the time to engage in positive social media and to use video conferencing tools like FaceTime, Skype, Google Hangouts, and others. Schedule times with your family for virtual coffee breaks or for happy hours. Talk with friends and family daily via texting, phone, or video conferencing. Use game apps to engage with friends. Remember, everyone in your life needs this as much as you do right now. Finding purpose. If you find yourself feeling overwhelmed, it can be helpful to reconnect with whatever gives your life a sense of meaning or purpose. This can be religion or spirituality, it can be important relationships, or it can be helping others. What can you do now, within the limits caused by this virus, to connect with a sense of purpose? Watch church services online. Buy a gift certificate to a restaurant that had to close during the virus. Offer to help an elderly neighbor order groceries to be delivered, while interacting with them over the phone or through email. Call your parents or grandparents. An act of kindness can help you just as much as it can help someone else. Conclusion. As you live through this challenging time, remind yourself regularly that you are strong and resilient. You have personal strengths you can use to survive and thrive. You have survived hardships before. You are not alone with this. We are all in this together.